What the mind of man can conceive and believe it can achieve. Now think with me, what if I told you the secret to success isn't waiting for the outcome, but acting as if it's already real today? Does that sound absurd? Well, it's precisely in this apparent paradox that the key to transforming your life lies. Most people believe they first need to accomplish something before they can feel confident. They say, when I have money, I'll dress better, or when I get promoted, I'll speak with more assurance. But what Napoleon Hill discovered and experienced firsthand is that this logic is upside down. The secret is to invert the order. It's to act now as if you've already achieved your goals, because the world doesn't respond to what you expect. It responds to what you project. Think for a moment. How many times have you entered a room and, without anyone saying a word, immediately sensed who seemed to dominate the situation? The posture, the gaze, the tone of voice, the way of walking. All of it transmits an energy that doesn't depend on a bank account or a job title. It's the vibration of someone who has decided to be the master of their own life. What modern science confirms is that when you adopt this mental and physical posture, the brain interprets it as reality. Harvard researchers showed that athletes who merely visualized their training mentally exhibited real improvements in their bodies. The brain doesn't fully differentiate between what is real and what is intensely lived in thought. If it works for muscles, imagine what it can do for your self-esteem, your choices, and how others perceive you. Napoleon Hill also lived this. There was a time when everything seemed to be falling apart. Debts, doubts, even his family questioning whether it was worth continuing. He was one step away from giving up, from waiting for better times, but he decided to act as if he were already an advisor to great leaders. He began waking early, dressing more soberly, and studying as if he already occupied that position. And it was precisely during this phase that the invitation to work with Franklin Delano Roosevelt, President of the United States, emerged. It was no coincidence. It was the natural consequence of having adopted internally and externally the identity he sought. This is the central point. When you start to behave like someone who has already achieved what they desire, your mind reprograms your body, your energy changes, and people react differently. It's as if the universe begins to recognize a new frequency within you. And think with me, how many times have you missed opportunities by walking into a meeting carrying insecurity? How many times did you fail to be heard because you didn't believe in your own voice? What if you had positioned yourself as someone who deserves respect from the first instant? The world reacts to what you project. If you enter a place downcast, full of doubts, you transmit defeat. But if you enter with the lightness of someone who believes in their own future, even if you don't yet see the result, you become magnetic. People notice, doors open, opportunities arise. Not because you lied to yourself, but because you decided to live your best version before it was recognized. This isn't pretense, it's active faith. It's aligning mind, body, and spirit with what you want to achieve. And if doubt still lingers, science provides reinforcement. Neuroscience studies show that repeating confident postures even alters the body's biochemistry, increasing hormones linked to security and decreasing those associated with stress. The body confirms the mind, and the mind confirms the body. It's a cycle of strengthening. The question is, will you continue waiting for external proof to finally believe, or will you take the first step to act today as if you already are what you wish to be tomorrow? Because believe me, the world will respond exactly the way you choose to present yourself. One of the biggest mistakes that prevents people from achieving their goals is a lack of clarity. Most people dream vaguely, saying they want a better life, more money, more freedom. But what does that really mean? Living well can be anything. For some, it might be living in a simple home with peace and tranquility. For others, it might be traveling the world, working from anywhere and building a company. If you don't precisely define what you want, your mind doesn't know where to go. And then you remain stuck in the same place, full of good intentions, but without direction. Napoleon Hill learned this lesson the hard way. For years he felt like a drifting boat, full of ideas and enthusiasm, but without a clear course. He would wake up wanting to win, but he didn't truly know what victory meant to him. This continued until Andrew Carnegie asked him a question that changed everything. Do you know exactly what you want from life? Hill realized that he didn't, that he merely told himself he wanted success, but couldn't describe what that success should look like. And from that point on, he began to write, with almost surgical precision, what he wanted for his life, the house where he would live, the routine he would have, the impact he wished to leave on the world. He didn't write it as a distant possibility, but as an ironclad contract with his own future. From that exercise, everything changed. He began to make decisions faster, to see opportunities with greater clarity, and it even seemed as if the universe began to arrange the pieces to help him. But it wasn't the universe. It was the clarity that guided his mind to filter what was important and discard what was a distraction. Science confirms this logic. Research in cognitive psychology shows that the brain doesn't handle vague information well. When you say, "I want to earn more money," there's no clear instruction for the subconscious. It doesn't know if that more means $100, $1,000, or $10,000. But when you state, "I want to earn $20,000 per month by December with my own business," the brain begins to seek real paths to transform that into action. It's like giving precise coordinates to a GPS. You might even take the wrong route, but you already have a destination. A powerful example is that of Wilma Rudolph. She was born prematurely, contracted polio and scarlet fever, and doctors stated she would never walk. But she had such a clear vision of herself not just walking, but running, breaking records, winning. This clarity made her persist through painful exercises, defy medicine, until she became the fastest woman in the world. This story isn't about luck, it's about focus. It's about living every day as if that result were already before your eyes. Now imagine your own life. How many times have you said, "I want to live better," but didn't specify? How many times have you felt lost because the goal was too broad to give you direction? This imprecision is like walking in a fog. You move, but you don't get anywhere. Hill discovered that clarity isn't a detail. It's the difference between dreaming and achieving. When you write down what you want in detail with numbers, dates, places, people, emotions, you stop being a dreamer and become an architect of your destiny. The most powerful aspect of this process is that it generates an immediate change. When you know exactly what you want, saying no to what doesn't serve you becomes natural. Relationships that diminish you, jobs that don't respect your vision, projects that have nothing to do with your values, all of this loses its hold. Because clarity functions as a filter, it protects you from wasting energy in directions that don't lead where you truly want to go. And the challenge is simple. Write with the utmost richness of detail what your perfect day would be like once you've achieved the life you desire. Where do you wake up? What do you feel when you open your eyes? Who is by your side? What is the first commitment of the day? How much do you earn per month? How do you invest your time? The more concrete and specific this portrait is, the more your subconscious will work to bring your reality closer to that scenario. Because in the end, it's not the size of your desire that makes the difference, but the sharpness with which you see it. Those who desire vaguely live lost. Those who desire with clarity create the path. There is one thing in common among all people who have gone far. None of them were spared from falls, closed doors, and moments when everything seemed lost. The difference isn't in who falls or not, but in who decides to get up, and even more so, in who manages to get up with more strength than they had before the fall. Napoleon Hill lived this intensely. He had 4 manuscripts rejected by major publishers who said there was no market for his ideas. Imagine hearing that repeatedly after investing time, energy, and hope. Anyone could have interpreted these rejections as a sentence of failure. But Hill didn't allow himself to stop. Instead of burying his writings, he revised them with even greater dedication, as if he were certain that thousands of people needed to read them. And time showed he was right, for those same ideas, once publicized, changed lives around the world. This attitude is what science calls resilience. Studies from the University of Pennsylvania indicate that the ability to withstand pressure is one of the greatest differentiators between those who prosper and those who succumb. It's not intelligence, it's not talent, it's not charisma. It's the strength to continue even when everything seems to say otherwise. It's as if life is testing the firmness of your vision, asking if you are truly willing to pay the price for what you desire. Consider the example of Pele. He was born into a harsh, poor reality without resources. He played soccer barefoot, faced injuries, criticisms, immense responsibilities even in his adolescence. It would have been easy to give up, to conform to the circumstances. But with every setback, he responded with more training, more discipline, more determination. He wasn't just playing soccer. He was playing for the future he believed he carried within him. And it's precisely this mindset that separates those who merely dream from those who leave a legacy. Now think about your own life. How many times have you felt crushed after a rejection? How many times have you believed that a failure was proof of your inadequacy? The truth is, failure itself means nothing. What gives meaning to a fall is what you decide to do with it. Some people use pain as fuel, turning every no into a reason to grow, while others use it as an excuse to give up. The world doesn't applaud those who never stumble, but it profoundly respects those who, even when hurt, get back up and keep going. Napoleon Hill used to say that every defeat carries within it the seed of an equivalent benefit. This isn't just a pretty saying, it's a life strategy. When you face rejection as a push in the right direction, every obstacle becomes part of the process. And, interestingly, it's at this point that many people give up, believing that difficulty is a sign they shouldn't continue, when in fact it's just the final test before the turning point. It's no coincidence that major psychological research shows resilient people exhibit greater well-being, more motivation, and even better long-term financial outcomes. They aren't less wounded, they don't suffer less, but they deal with pain differently. They transform their scars into a reminder that they are capable of enduring more than they thought, and, each time this happens, they walk with a conviction that cannot be taught in books, only earned through experience. So when you look back at your journey and realize how many times you've been rejected, how many times you've been sidelined, remember that it's not the falls that define your destiny, but how you choose to react to them. Because life will always present challenges to those who wish to grow, but only those who transform pain into energy, failure into learning, and every no into further proof that they are on the right path will reach the top. It's this attitude that makes the world stop and recognize there stands someone who not only dreams, but who doesn't give up until their dreams become reality. One of the biggest traps that ensnare people is believing they need external approval to finally act. How many times have you said to yourself, "When I'm promoted, then I'll feel ready," or "When someone important believes in me, then I'll start my project"? This waiting is a slow poison, because it transfers to the world the responsibility of believing in what should be born within you. Napoleon Hill said that the world only believes in those who first believe in themselves. This is the essence of active faith, the conviction that precedes any evidence. Bill Russell, one of basketball's greatest names, understood this deeply. He didn't wait for the final whistle to feel like a champion. He stepped onto the court already with the demeanor of someone who knew that was his place. He walked, talked, and moved like a winner before any score confirmed it. And it was precisely this anticipatory faith that made him unstoppable. Because when you believe consistently, your body, your voice, your decisions align with that belief, and victory becomes a natural consequence. Napoleon Hill also lived through the proof of this principle. During his career, he faced harsh criticism, personal attacks, and disbelief from all sides. There were moments when his faith nearly extinguished. He himself confessed that he even doubted whether his teachings were truly universal laws or just beautiful ideas. But the moment he realized that if he didn't believe then, no one else would believe later, he made a decision. He would speak with more intensity, write with more passion, and pour even more energy into his messages. And this act of believing first, even when nothing around him confirmed it, became the turning point of his life and his work. Today, science confirms what Hill already asserted. Studies in neuroscience show that when you repeat positive thoughts with conviction, new neural connections are created. That is, you literally rewire your brain to believe more in yourself. It's as if each affirmation were a brick laid in the construction of a stronger identity. And when this identity consolidates, it shines through in the tone of your voice, the firmness of your demeanor, the sparkle in your eyes. Others begin to see in you exactly what you have decided to believe. But here arises a common objection. What if I don't feel confident? What if I've been rejected so many times that I can't believe in myself? The answer is clear. Faith isn't born from results. Faith is born from decision. You don't need to wait until you feel ready to believe. It is precisely the act of believing beforehand that prepares you for what comes next. The world doesn't need perfection, it needs conviction. And conviction can be trained. Just like a muscle, the more you practice, the stronger it becomes. Therefore, here is a challenge that can radically change how you see yourself and how the world reacts to you. For 21 consecutive days, every morning, repeat aloud 3 sentences that express the identity you wish to embody. Not as mere words, but as a declaration of who you already are. Say, for example, I am confident. My vision is greater than my fears. I am a growing force. And don't just speak. Feel it. Breathe deeply. Straighten your posture. Speak like someone who already lives this reality. This simple exercise may seem insignificant, but its impact is profound. In a few days, you'll notice subtle changes in the tone of your voice, the way you walk, and even how people begin to respond to you. Because the energy of self-belief is contagious. It cuts through the silence. It's perceived even before words are spoken. And when this happens, something extraordinary is revealed. The world begins to treat you in accordance with who you have decided to be. It's not magic. It's coherence between who you believe yourself to be and how you present yourself to the world. True power isn't in waiting for external proof. True power lies in becoming the living proof of what you believe. That's how Napoleon Hill overcame disbelief. That's how Bill Russell became a legend. And that's how you can transform your life. Because when self-belief becomes unshakable, no criticism, rejection, or obstacle can stop someone from achieving what they desire. The entire world eventually bends to the will of those who believe first. There's a silent yet decisive element that separates those who build lasting results from those who live only on flashes of enthusiasm. Emotional discipline. It's not enough to dream big, not enough to write down goals, not enough to believe in yourself. All these steps become fragile if the mind doesn't learn to master its impulses and maintain focus when emotions try to sabotage the process. Napoleon Hill said that whoever fails to govern their own mind can govern nothing, and that phrase resonates strongly because it is precisely in small daily choices that destiny is shaped. How many times have you made rash decisions just because you were anxious? How many times have you given up on a plan because fear spoke louder? Or let an opportunity pass by because you were consumed by doubt? The truth is that most people fail not due to a lack of ability, but due to a lack of emotional balance. Science clearly demonstrates this. Studies published by Stanford University revealed that individuals capable of delaying immediate gratification, such as in the famous marshmallow experiment, experienced greater academic success, better financial standing, and even higher levels of physical health throughout their lives. What seems like a minor detail, waiting, controlling an impulse, is, in practice, one of the most powerful keys to prosperity. Napoleon Hill also faced this challenge. There was a phase when public criticism nearly destroyed his reputation. Many accused him of being merely a dreamer, of selling illusions. He had every reason to react explosively, to give up, or even to attack his opponents. But instead, he chose strategic silence. He decided to channel his energy not into useless quarrels, but into writing even more, strengthening his message, and proving himself through results. This stance required enormous self-control, and it was precisely this emotional mastery that transformed attacks into fuel to reach even more people. An example from the world of sports also illustrates this truth. Consider Michael Jordan. He wasn't always the acclaimed player the world knew. Throughout his career, he faced tough losses, heavy criticism, and even cuts from team selections. But the difference lay in how he reacted. He used every frustration as motivation to train harder, not to sink into despair. This emotional discipline allowed him to transform temporary failures into historical achievements. Now, look at yourself. How many times have you sabotaged your own projects because you didn't know how to handle anxiety? How many times have you let anger, doubt, or sadness steal the energy that could have been used to build something? What if, instead of reacting automatically to emotions, you learn to transform them into directed force? This is the distinguishing characteristic of those who build not just a moment of glory, but an entire lifetime of accomplishments. Mastering emotions doesn't mean ceasing to feel them. It means feeling them and still choosing the action that serves your purpose. It's like holding the helm in the midst of a storm. The winds are there, the waves are there, but you decide to maintain your course. Hill called this mental self-discipline and asserted that without it, all success is fleeting. Science confirms, research in positive psychology shows that people with higher emotional intelligence not only prosper more financially, but also report higher levels of happiness and quality of life. Here's a practical challenge. For 7 days before making any important decision, take 3 deep breaths and ask yourself, does this choice bring me closer to or move me further away from my greater goal? This simple habit creates a space between impulse and action, and it is in that space that true power is born. Because when you master your own emotions, you not only navigate your life with greater clarity, but you also inspire respect, trust, and admiration from everyone around you. The world responds to those who exude balance, because balance is a sign of leadership, and leading yourself is the first victory that paves the way for all others. The world reacts not to what you still hope to achieve, but to how you choose to position yourself today. Clarity, resilience, emotional discipline, and self-belief are the pillars that transform any dream into concrete reality. And now that you have understood this principle, you are ready to climb another step in your evolution of wisdom, becoming 1% better than you are now. The next video is already here on the screen, waiting for you. I thank you for having walked with me until this moment, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.